everyone. My name is Bob Jacobson. I have the honor of serving as the Commissioner of Public Safety for the state of Minnesota. I want to thank the Vang family for the opportunity to be here today. I am here on behalf of Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan. They certainly share their condolences with the Vang family and with this community. They realize, as others do, the significance that this devastating loss has had on your family, this community, the city of St. Paul, and the entire state of Minnesota. As I contemplated what to share today, I tried to find words to comfort all those experiencing the pain and loss of a child. I searched for words of hope in the extreme darkness that has clouded each day since January 3rd. And I settled on this: there are no words. Nothing I can say here today will ease the pain of losing a child. Certainly not the pain of losing four, as other family members fight through their recovery. There are no words. As I look back on the news reports of the fire, the injuries, and the lives lost, though, I found some hope. I found humanity in the family's bravery and in the community's strong desire to do whatever they could to try to bring comfort. There were tears, just as there are today. There was also communal grief. People from around the globe have tried to bring comfort through expressions of support and donations, big and small. So many have tried to wrap their arms around the entire family. And beyond the news reports, I've witnessed firsthand strangers who've been brought to tears just by the story of what's happened here. At the Department of Public Safety, we take pride in working to help keep people safe. We regularly join with our first response partners to attack danger in an effort to keep people safe. Simply put, we serve. And when all those efforts aren't enough to keep a family from tragedy, we grieve as well. I know the first responders from the city of St. Paul went to incredible lengths with bravery and courage in their efforts to save those victims. What's evident is that they not only went above and beyond their training to do their duty, they responded as humans with heart and compassion overflowing for this victim and for these families. At the heart of this profession, those who serve in public safety are not nameless or faceless. In moments like this, they join with those who serve. They care, they hurt, they love. Today they honor. And I'm proud of how they've responded. One thing I know and I love about the city of St. Paul is that it's often described as a big town with a small town feeling. Sometimes, somehow, it feels smaller and closer with some very tight-knit communities such as this. In those small communities, tragedies like this can last for generations. People won't forget these beautiful children that we've learned about. We will be remembering the Vang family for years and years, and I dare say that the outpouring of love and reverence for this family will last for decades and generations. And when I speak of the Vang family, yes, I will remember the tragedy, but more than that, I will speak of the legacy of strength, the legacy of humanity, and of courage, and my heart will fill as I remind others of that legacy. How through such enormous tragedy, this family often brought so many people together. This family reminded so many of us who are all too often too busy to care for their neighbors that it is so important to show love, even to strangers or neighbors that we may have never met. So no, there are no words to ease the pain, none that I can certainly muster today, but the legacy that this family and this community has shown me and their actions give me hope that all is not lost. Out of grief and loss can spring hope, love, and a future. Our actions must match that legacy. To the family, and in particular Pacheng, please know that we stand ready now and in the months and years ahead to join with you, to support, to care for, stand beside you, sir. By honoring that legacy, we honor the victims of this tragedy. We will honor the families' strength and resilience. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you today, and our blessings to all of you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Pacheng, extended family, friends, parents, loved ones. My name is Melvin Carter, and I have the privilege of serving as mayor of this city that I always tell folks raised me. This city that's raising my family, my children. This city that raised my father and my father's father. This city that my family has been in for ever. And, you know, I grew up playing in the rec centers and going to school. And I grew up in the kind of community that if I, as a 9-year-old kid, stepped out to cross the street to chase a ball or something like that, somebody I never met in my life could look at me and say, "Hey, get out of the street." And I say all that just to say, I've come to know this city. And I share this a lot with folks. I've come to know this city, not just as like a place with some streets and some buildings and some bridges and some sidewalks. But I've really come to know this city as a family. A big extended family. And it's one of the things we joke sometimes that our African American community and our Hmong community have in common is that we have big families. And we recognize big families. And if someone's a cousin of 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 a cousin, we say, "That's my family. That's my cousin. That's my people." And so, thank you, Commissioner, for being here, Jacobson. I said just to say that no family, can imagine anything more heartbreaking, more heart-rending than losing a child. And to the extent that I can send my mind to a place harder to digest than losing a child, it's thinking about losing 4 children. 4 of our children, 4 of our babies. It's thinking about being at a funeral with a bottle in the casket. I believe, Pacheng, there are moments in which we have to decide what to do. And there's moments that demonstrate who we are. And as I think about all the heartbreak our community has endured since January 3rd, I also hold with that heartbreak an enormous amount of inspiration about who we are. Inspiration about who those firefighters are, who charged into a burning building that all the rest of us would have run away from, to just say, how do we save the lives of our family members inside? Inspiration from the community members, whether it was in the hospital, at one of the press conferences, in community, the community members who you've seen, Pacheng, family, and also the community members you haven't seen. Because I don't know that it would be possible as you navigate the acute crisis of laying to rest our young children. I don't know that it would be possible for you to see all of the ways in which your loss is our loss, in which our loss has had a ripple effect on our community, in which our loss reverberates not just through this place, not just through our Hmong community, but through our entire city. Inspiration from Kirk, who was an intern in my office a couple of years ago. Her strength to fight. Txog's strength to fight. And inspiration from you, Pacheng. When we second met, we first met a couple of years ago when Kurt was interning in my office, but when we second met a couple of months ago, my first sight of you was with all of those lanyards around your neck. And of all the things that we were thinking through and going through and experiencing in that moment, it just occurred to me that you had a lanyard for every single one of your family members who was in the ICU that night. You walked me through and introduced me to your children who were struggling, who were fighting for their lives, some without much sign of hopefulness. We were walking through and there was a moment that I just needed a moment. There was a moment that it went beyond sadness into an imaginary place that I couldn't even figure out where we were on the emotional continuum. And I stopped and I sort of just paused and I needed a second. I was trying to just find my gravity. I was trying to find the ground. And Pacheng put his hand on my back and encouraged me. We had a press conference though at the next week, a couple of days later. And Pacheng looked into the camera and said, hey, I never want to see your family where my family is. Make sure you have your fire extinguishers. Make sure you have your fire escape routes. Make sure your children know what to do in case of a fire. I say all that just to say, like I said, there's moments that demand us to decide what to do. And then there's moments that illustrate for the whole world who we are. And as horrific as what you've been through, Pacheng, as horrific as what we've been through is, these children in an age where every time we turn on the TV or our computers or our smartphones, we see adults acting ugly. These children have demanded better of us. These children have pushed us together. These children have required us to be one community, have required us to be one family, have required us to be one religion, and that's a religion of humanity, of care, of empathy, of love for each other. We walked into the hospital room, and there was a group of family members all around, and somebody looked at me and said, could you say something encouraging to the family members right now? And Pacheng, my first thought was no. I don't feel anything encouraging. There's nothing I can say that would help anything in this moment. But as we continue to digest all of this, I do have to say that I hold in this moment both the great, enormous, unthinkable grief of the loss that we've endured together, and the great, enormous hope that I take from your spirit, that I take from your family, that I take from your community, that I take from your city, and that I take from the fact that I get to share that family, that city, that community with you. If I could read all of our minds and all of our hearts, I'm sure we are all screaming the question, why? And I don't have an answer to that. But one thing I do know is that our children who we've had the heartbreaking fortune of having to lay to rest, our children deserve for this moment, for their lives, for their passings, to be a pivot point in our communities that allows us to do the acute work that Pacheng has challenged us all to. And our director of our Office of Neighborhood Safety is here. Our fire chief is here. I imagine you'll hear from him next. But our public safety framework in St. Paul says we can't just wait to try to respond as well as possible, as fast as possible after something terrible has happened. Public safety has got to be about starting with reducing the likelihood that something terrible will happen in the first place. And so I hope that you hear Pacheng when he says, prepare your household. Go home today and know what your fire escape routes are. Go home today and check the expiration date on your fire extinguisher. Go home today and make sure there's a route out upstairs if you don't have one. Go home today and make sure that we are building a better tomorrow from the heartbreak of yesterday. So that's that acute work, but then there's that universal work of us building our future together, of us caring for one another before a tragedy happens, of us wrapping our arms and our hearts around one another to ensure that we all get a chance to share in the prosperity, in the joy, and the fulfillment that our community, our culture, our religions, our neighborhoods, our great city has to offer. And so I leave here recommitted to those things. I leave here recommitted to you, Pacheng. And I thank all of you for being the concentric circles that ensure that Pacheng knows not just, and Carlo knows, not just today, and not just during an event, but after this event is over, and on Monday morning, and on Thursday evening, and for the rest of his life, that while some of those closest to you must now be experienced in the spirit, that in the body, and in the flesh, and in the family that we call St. Paul, Minnesota, you are surrounded by love, you're surrounded by family, you're surrounded by relatives, and you're surrounded by support. Thank you all for being that support.
Thank you. My name is Pacheng, and I stand here before you today as your fire chief, but also as a loving husband and a father, grandfather, and a dedicated community member. It's a very sacred and humbling time for me. It's sacred because we're here today to honor the life of Mua Cha Tu Vang, and again we come face to face with the temporary nature of life here on earth. And I'm humbled because there's nothing I can say to do justice to the fullness of the lives and children of the family of Pacheng Vang. I want you to know that the lives of the women and men of the St. Paul Fire Department that responded that night, and even those who didn't respond, as well as the community, our lives will forever be changed. Community, we hear a lot about community. We're going to hear more, I'm sure of it, today. But it's defined as a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. And as I walked around today, and as I walked around at the last funeral, it's obvious to me that the strength of community is present and just extremely strong. It's because of that strength of this community that the Pacheng family, that Pacheng and his family will forever have the support and guidance. And because of this tragic event, the St. Paul Fire Department will forever be part of this community. Pacheng is your fire chief, and as a father and as a husband, I am sorry you and your family had to experience such a tragic event. But know that you and your family are not alone. And everyone you see here, and those that you don't see, will forever be part of your community. And will be here for as long as it takes to help you through this.
Rồi còn thằng bên nhau chỉ tao sửa dài chân cái dòng một rồi dài chân có một ca một đó một rong nụ nọ có con thiệt tàu po thiệt tàu giờ có một chỗ po chơi giờ có một chỉ một mắt đợt tệ rồi đợt tờ có một ca một rong đó bị tôi nó pe cho cái ti pe lu con ngà một rong co.
Thank you all for being here today. It's truly a sad day for the Vang family and for families across Minnesota and throughout the globe. In tragic events like this, we look up to our leaders. And today, Commissioner is here, Mayor Carter is here, the Chief is here. And they are more than just community leaders. They are family. Thank you all for being here, including all the distinguished guests. In times like this, we lean on you to get through. And thank you all so much for being here today. Rồi chia chập lời, thọ giải tỏ bây giờ trong thức cho trong nhận trong gì. Ý trọng thông yêu sự đời. Nông là những trong tu chập lời tôi biết chế sẵn ba trong tu được biết ta là biết sẵn cho tôi làm mình sầu ta thông lời lúc hắn tu biết chỉ sai thì mỗi nông bây giờ tôi hai cứ bài tôi bao tụi mình nhỏ tin nông giờคนnhỏ chập lời này giờ ý lần nhẹ thế lần xịt giờ hai cứ bài tôi này lý giảiแต่มีตู้มีหยดจนชัวซอเชียร์นั่นเด้ชัวร์นั่นนั่นเด้ไปที่จะ celebrate ในรูป birthday ไปที่จะดอทมีหยดยมพร้อมไปยาสาแต่มีหยด college ไปที่จะยออีตรงช่องโดยไปตัวมีหยดอีตรงตัวมีหยดที่เราชอบไปเชื่อไป bây giờ là niệm gì đời giờ sẽ kêu tu sẽ chấp lời cú hai đứa này thì bây số lần số tu cho mua mình tu mình nhọ bây giờ bắt chen tu sẽ nam mô cú một số ai thì bắt chen họ kể cho những là giờ ý ra đang hành sự但是但既然不知道，你只要一下给我说，你要的点，大家我都不冒险，也不多呢，不去把大要还一老路的，political governor commissioner 是的人还，被是的人去摸，一度用我本事要贴到一老路要还个我，把钱的路这样，路些干哩。nông nọ bên tổ nó gió này rồi kia, u tụ khen, u sa bỏ mỏ, u sa co thế, u sa một chỗ quý lần chết to, u sa một chỗ quý lần chết to, u co u tụ khen, họ này sẽ kỹ nhiều xe để sẽ kỹ và tụ xe chập lại, nông nọ giờ ít nông và tổ bê, tất cả nông hay để ô li bố mỏ vắt chữ, giờ mỏ vắt chữ thì vắt chữ họ chỉ ba nông nó một đôi nông một bên sai thì bọc công nghiệp dưới nhớ được từ thì bọc công nghiệp dưới chỉ bọc hư bọc hiệu đấy phải chỉ của hai đứa này thì sợ từ thằng khá là bên sau ta sẽ kinh tế xe bên chỉnh chúa bên chỉnh này chỉnh chúa có thì chỉnh chúa cũ giờ bên sợ xin luôn bên những yếu chúa là thôi sẽ kinh tế là sựการโดนตะกี้โมชอบพูดสักกี่ลูกนอนตุนยัววัวลิปตาตุเมียตัวหายเป็นสักกี่ลูกปัจจัยที่จีนยจูจีสองลูกนอนการโดนตะกี้เป็นยังจีนชัวสักกี่ลูกตัวปัจจัยจีนหรือช่วงเราเป็นยังจูชัวสักกี่ลูกตัวปัจจัยจีนสอนเกี่ยวเป็นชิลูกนอนที่สักเกี่ยวเป็นตัวเขาก่อนที่เป็นยังจีนgiờ tí sau học kia của yo và chợ tổ bắt chân chính này chợ tổ bê Lucia nông nào của thằng bố này sẽ đời bê giờ mình thọ vào chữ bố đồ nghĩa bắt chân đó đồ tổ tu chữ từ tổ hồng mỏ yo chủ thọ vào chữ có nghĩa bắt chân thế tụi mình tu nó đó cá lò đó bắt chân của lúc này nhau Lucia thế là cả thế là chỉ ta sẽ cái chuyện thì bắt chen đào tổ chức này thì li chen có cá xe một thiên nào thì họ gì mà bắt chen thứ hai tối là luôn món đó này một số ta bắt tổ chức món này tụi mình nhỏ chú cho nó bỏ kia này tụi mình nhỏ hay tiền này luôn này tụi mình nhỏ chập là vì món này bắt chen thứ chỉ một lúa ở cả lúa sẽ hơi món này tụi mình nhỏ bỏ ý chú là bỏ ý chẳng story rồi này thế bé đó là cố đi xin người story mà nó một giờ ba giờ chế nhưng mà chú yêu tụi mình nhỏ là bỏ kia tụi mình nhỏ để cố lúc có vì ở để bé chú bỏ nó sẽ bé những chú bỏ ta kia thì gì là cô giáo ở chỗ đó bé chỗ cái tên này chẳng sẽ được đó này giờ thì lúc này chỗ đó chỗ bắt chương trình này này tuần chỗ đó bé chế sự ba béการเต็มหมดโชว์ชับเลยในสกิลูนี่ชัวท่องต่อลงเตะหน่อยไปยังชิมเป็นสื่อตัวตอนในลุงไปยังชิมเป็นสื่อป้อแต่ในยังเล่นตื่นบีเดียจงชับเลยสกิลูมันนี่ชัวตอนเราลุงเตะเราพูดเราพัดเช่นโอลิบตาจะทั้งเจ้าตัวเมียตัวก็มิชเนอร์ที่หายตอนเราลุงเตะเรามอเชียนเราไปมอเชียนเราพัดเช่นเช่นนั้นไอ้เชื่อเกี่ยวกับเชื่อว่าโอ้กูอยากตัวประธานกูท้องกูตอนนั้นตัวเชื่อตัวรอดเอาตัวยอเดี๋ยวไปวันนี้จบวันจบเราจะกี่ลูกไอ้ชงเชียร์ชับเลยเด่นน้องเราในตัวกองเป็นน้องเราแต่ชื่อน้องเราจงนี้จะกี่โมชัว我จงนี้เฉพาะสอบเลยสี่บทตัวลูกอีหินดูเราจะนั่นนี่เท่านี้น้อยกูบอกเดี๋ยวปัจจุบันโอ้โหโอ้โอ้ชิตเอาเลยละโอ้แต่การชิมอองชิตเอาลูกกูมอละ mò thằng can ở những sport để mò gì đi là chỉ là trong lý tụi mình gửi trong lý tổ sản du đi là cái ngoài đó này để cho cái mò share theo cái tụi share mà rồi là thằng khám bọn nó vì nó bây giờ là thế là yếu tụi chúa bây giờ cái luôn á bây giờ là yếu tụi chế để bỏ bắt chân shop bắt chân lúc cũng bỏ để bây giờ là yếu tụi cái giờ này nó thì chúng share cho được đó và như giờ cái lúc đó nó để sửa chế nó tăng học biết lúc của họ và con số nó được biết chế sản ba của thầu này sẽ được cho. Thank you so much.